What's up, everybody? My name's Bigg and welcome back to another Comically Boston breakdown episode. Today we are talking about Skeleton Crew, episode 3, titled Very Interesting as an Astrogration Problem. I guess we'll discuss what that means a little later in this episode. But so far through 3 episodes, Skeleton Crew is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, so that's exciting stuff. And absolutely, the crew, I didn't expect to like this series as much as I do. And I like John Watts, so I was optimistic about liking it. But I was like, this group of kids, I'm not necessarily into seeing them go through the galaxy. I was completely wrong. I love these kids so much. They're really awesome, and I'm going to butcher their names, but I want to give them proper credit because as KB, Karina Crater is phenomenal. Robert Timothy Smith as Neel is so funny, and you don't really get to see him because he's the blue elephant trunk, alien creature. He's still awesome. I love Neel so much. So shout out Robert Timothy Smith. He was just in a movie review that I did recently. He was in Dear Satan or Dear Santa with Jack Black, and he accidentally writes, instead of Dear Santa, he writes Dear Satan, and Jack Black shows up. So that same kid that was like kind of swearing and funny in that movie, he's Neel in this, and he's so sweet. He's so funny. Fern, the kind of captain lead of this group, is Ryan Kiara Armstrong, and then Rav Kabat Conyers is Wim, and he is phenomenal as well. And he's like the heart of the crew. But let's be real, we all want to see Neel get home to his family and reunite with his love, Runa. And if Neel doesn't fall in love with Runa by the end of the series, I will riot, because Neel is the man and he deserves love. But coming off of last episode, the kids met Jude Law's character in a cell that Captain Brutus, the werewolf or whatever he is, threw them in to cool off. And they meet Jude Law, and he kind of uses his Jedi powers and uses the Force to get the key to get them out of the cell. And Wim goes, "You're a Jedi?" And he goes, "Shh. Can you keep a secret?" So that's where we're coming off of the last episode. And we open up this episode on Atten with Wim's dad not hearing the other parents, as all of the other parents are grouped up together and they're all, distressed because their kids are lost, and they're all like, panicking. And then a droid comes in and tells them that they cannot send a message or, try and contact the kids because they are outside the barrier, and the supervisor can't risk contact outside of the barrier because that would expose where Atten is, correct? So I'm guessing that's eventually how we get back to the planet, is they try to reach out to find the kids, and then, oh, we found a signal for Atten. And then maybe a bunch of pirates show up on Atten to loot the place of treasure. I don't know, but I hope our kids make it back home eventually, with or without Jude Law's character. But right after this whole, we set the tone on what's happening back on Atten, the Skeleton Crew title card hits, and then we cut back to the space pirate port, I guess is what you call it, and them breaking out with Jude Law's character, which we find out his real name is Jod Nanawood. And this is one of Jude Law's character's names, potentially. We'll talk about that more in a minute. So as the kids are busting out of this jail cell with Jod Nanawood, Wim is already in love with him. He's like, oh my god, he's using the Force to find out and hear guys, when really he can just hear shit. And, they keep making it like, oh, is he using the Force? Or is he just kind of lucky? Or is he just kind of paying attention type of thing? Like, is he just, using his senses the way that they're meant to be used? I really don't know. But I would like to think he's a Jedi. I have a theory on who he could be, but we'll talk about that more during this video. But like I was saying, Wim loves him, and then Fern doesn't trust him at all. She's the captain, but she's like, this guy just wants our ship. And he kind of says that to them. He's like, why would I bust out before I knew I had a ship? Now you guys have a ship, we can get out of here, I think he wants to help them, but he's trying to help himself more in the process. But the kids and Jude make it back to the Onyx Cinder, and then they start questioning him and what's his real name, and he's like, nope, we gotta get out of here. And he goes, if you guys go back in, we're sure to get caught, because the whole place is on red alert now that they've escaped. And they're like, nope, we must go back for SM-33. We need our droid. He had just got shut down right before we got thrown in that cell. So they make Jude go back for the droid. So Jude goes back in for SM-33, which I might start calling him just Shmi. If you guys get it, SM-33, 3's backwards are E's, and get what I mean, Shmi. So the droid Shmi, he goes back for, and Jude finds the droid. And as he's finding the droid, he like turns on a couple other ones, and I think like one, like a real old separatist droid turns on and goes, did we win? Did we win? And he just turns it back off, and it's like, oh man, that droid still thinks he's in the war. Because I'm pretty sure this movie is set after the events of Return of the Jedi. So we're talking after the last of the original trilogy and before Rey's sequel trilogy, I'm believing. Which I guess at the same time could be Mandalorian time frame? I don't know. Mandalorian might be between 5 and 6 instead of in between 6 and 7. But I don't know. I have a weird feeling we might see some familiar faces on this show, if you know what I mean. But as Jude is stealing back Shmi, a former crew member of Captain Silvo, which is Jude, just another one of his many names, starts talking to him. And this former crew member says that he likes Jude so much more, and Brutus is never going to be half the captain as Captain Silvo. And then he's like, oh, did Brutus let you out? And so he kind of puts together that you must be breaking out. And this guy's got a full alien costume on, so I didn't think about it at first, but this comes to be that this alien guy that's blackmailing Jude and his former crew member is Alfred Molina, who's dressed up in this alien costume. If you guys don't know who Alfred Molina is, he's Doc Ock from Spider-Man No Way Home, from Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 2, and now in Star Wars. And the internet is so fast, they immediately put his little alien creature on the Doc Ock arms, and Twitter was posting, I have the palm of the sun in the palm of my hand. the internet's too quick, man. They're way too funny. Jude works it out with his former crew member somehow, some way, because he was blackmailing him. They don't really necessarily show how he gets back, but Jude makes it back to the ship with the droid, but he's got some heat on him, so ships are behind him, shooting at him, and then they go to take off on the ship, and the ship is stuck to a fuel line. So while still attached to the fuel line, they blast off into hyperspace, and one of the kids, KB, is like, isn't that dangerous? And yeah, sure it is, but they take off just fine. But I think it's dangerous because the hose, after they blast off, detaches and launches back into the spaceport and kills a whole bunch of pirates behind them. You know, so like, I don't necessarily blame the kids for that, but Jude's definitely gotten a few lives on his hands at this point. There's no way those people lived after getting smoked by that hyperspace cord fuel line, you know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. But after they blast off, the new captain, Brutus, is pissed, and I really still love the look of him. But, you know, he's got 3 guns on his chest, he's got the wolf howl, you know, he's just got a full wolf face, and, looks like a werewolf, space pirate, like, he's just cool. But Brutus puts a bounty on Captain Silvo and the kids, and goes, I want them back, fuck that, you know, like, the place is now destroyed as they leave, too, like, oh, these kids are causing problems. Back on the ship, though, as they're in hyperspace and they're blasting away, the kids turn on Shmi and kind of jog his memory a bit and catch him up. And Jude is making dinner, and they start talking about At-Atten, and the droid doesn't really remember At-Atten. And Jude is like, At-Atten? Like, nobody knows where it is, but he knows of it as the pirate treasure planet, you know what I mean? But Jude had made dinner for himself, so as he's like, you know, spooning out every last bite into a bowl for himself, he like looks at the kids, Neel's stomach's growling, and he's like, oh, that looks yummy. And he goes, there's more in the pot. So Jude made food for the kids. So is he a pirate? Is he a Jedi? Is he for the kids? Is he against the kids? I don't know. At the current moment, it seems like he's for the kids. Maybe a little, you know? Enough so that like his maybe former Jedi heart is like, we must protect these innocent children, right? But then, as the kids eat dinner, Jude walks around the ship and steals a sword out of one of the skeletons that was stabbed to the wall on the skeleton crew's ship. And then Shmi walks in and kind of talks to the pirate, and he's like, listen, who are you? And Jude's kind of like trying to make friends with him, but the droid kind of like stands up tall and makes himself look like a fighter more than like a decrepit old droid. And he's like, these kids, it's the kids ship, you know, like, you better fall in line, sir, like that type of shit. So I really like the droid, and Jude is still questionable in my mind at the current moment. But we cut to Neel feeding the rat that lives in Shmi's eye. And then Neel, they start talking about the treasure, and he's like, what do you think the treasure is back on our planet on Aladdin? And Neel thinks maybe the treasure has to do with the great work. And he goes, what do our parents do? And they're all like, well, they all do analyzing. And he goes, analyzing what? Money? So maybe this planet is just a bunch of people in like a colony, you know, making kids to grow up to be analyzers and sort their money. You know, I don't know if this is the Empire or who is in charge, like who's the supervisor making them analyze the money and keep track of it, because like they're using Republic credits, old Republic credits that are super valuable as school lunch money. So like there's got to be crazy wealth on this planet, and there's mostly just droids, so there's not a whole lot of people either. So like, who's in charge here? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Neel's the cutest little kid though. God, he's just, I can't get over Neel. He's just the best. But as they're talking about the money and they're finished eating, Jude comes in and goes, maybe we should catch some sleep. Fern's like, I'm not even tired. The very next shot, she's zonked out, and it's like, oh, so I guess you were tired. You just don't like Jude. Well, with a name like Jude, how could you like him, right? They arrive to Jude's friend's moon, and his friend is named Kim. K-Y''HMM. Kim. The rest of my notes, I just started writing K-I-M. I was like, Kim is fine. I don't know why they needed to make it Kim. You know, like this crazy spelling. It's Star Wars, that's probably why. But Kim, Jude's friend, he doesn't necessarily trust 100%. He goes, she might stab us in the back. And all this while they're walking into her moon planet. And anyone that says that the Star Wars, oh, the volume looks terrible, I raise you this question. Because this series looks phenomenal, and when used correctly, the volume looks phenomenal, right? Like with the kids walking on this planet, and it kind of side shot of them like with the galaxy, or you know, another planet behind them, and them just like using it as this like shadow effect on them. They do have some light on them, but you can just see this planet behind them. I thought it looked really good. And then like later in the episode, when we meet Kim, she looks great as CGI. And then earlier in the episode, they're like on a blue like you know, like that trolley thing that was ferrying them from the ship to the prison, or like to the port. And he's on one of those, he's whipping around, and like there's stuff in the foreground, so it looks like there's, you know, stuff like right here. And then further in the distance is the volume. I'm like, dude, when they have extra stuff like in frame to make it look like, tie everything in to make it look like it's real, the volume looks phenomenal. Like, right? Like when it's used properly, the volume is a successful tool for Hollywood. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think people should hate on it as much as they do. But we as an audience find out that Kim, Jude's friend, has already contacted the police about her friend Crimson Jack, just another name for Jude Law's character. So now Crimson Jack, he has 3 names now so far that we know of him as: Captain Silvo, Crimson Jack, and what I think is his real name, Jude Nanawood. And Jude Nanawood, I think, is his birth-given Jedi name, because that sounds more Jedi, right? Like Jedi Nanawood, Master Nanawood, you know, like that sounds a lot more like a Jedi. I think maybe he was a child Jedi. The Purge or whatever, you know, Order 66 happens. He has to go out on his own to survive, just like, you know, Kanan in Rebels, you know, like Ahsoka. It's happened before where a Jedi has survived through Order 66 as a child and now as a grown man. So I think he was a child, right, an apprentice. Order 66 happens, he survives, but he then goes off into the galaxy on his own, and he becomes a pirate and ends up becoming a captain, probably because he's able to use the Force a bit, and he probably doesn't use the Force in front of everybody, you know, like instead of in front of the pirates, so that they don't immediately go, oh, he's a Jedi, kill him, you know, because Jedis aren't friendlies in this galaxy at this point in time, right? They're more like catch them, get a reward type of thing, right? But as they walk up to the door, Kim's I like the little robot eyes that come out and check them out. Like, that's been in so many Star Wars projects. I've always enjoyed those little weird droid eyeball things that are like security cameras and like checking them out. But we find out that Kim is an owl that kind of looks like maybe a former Jedi, and I tried to grab as good of pictures as I could because she looked phenomenal, but the quality of pictures I'm not quite happy with. But she's like a little owl lady, and she's got like a little cloak, and she had no business looking as good as she does because she's like little owl CGI creature being voiced by clearly a real woman and interacting with these kids and stuff, and it's like, damn, I don't know how they did this, but it's done so well. But Kim, the owl lady here, she has space charts and routes of all the space lanes in the galaxy, so Jod's brought them here to help the kids get home. And the kids, they go, we're from At-Atten, and she goes, At-Atten? And then says, At-Atten is the title of the episode. So she goes, At-Atten is very interesting as an astrogration problem. And that's where the title of the episode comes in, is from Kim's words. The kids don't know about the war when she's questioning the kids. And she's like, this is fascinating. Kids are like, what war? And she's like asking about the barrier and what does it look like, and they're talking about like gases and how it looks around the planet. And she's like, oh, the planet may be hiding in nebulous gases. And Jack's like, huh, does this narrow it down for you? She goes like, oh yes, and she's working away, and he's like, I know you're stalling. So her cover's blown, and the, you know, X-Wings are closing in the space police, you know, if you would. But Jod kind of throws her off. She gets like kind of buried by books, and he grabs the coordinates, and the kids run off, and the kids are questioning him and shit. And they make him tell them who he is, and he's like, I'm just like you, I'm lost and alone. And Wim's like, you are a Jedi though, right? And he goes, I never actually said that. So Wim's like, what the fuck? But then KB says, we're not partners, you work for us. So Jod works for the kids, and Jod says, deal. And so he made a deal. He works for the kids now in front of the droid, you know, so no more problems from the Jedi. He must help the kids as far as what the deal he made is. But he might have just been saying this just to get them moving along, if you know what I mean. But as they're running away and taking off in the ship, they take off, but a couple of X-Wings are right on their ass. And like the way that the two X-Wings looked on, you know, right above this moon planet with the other planet in the background, looks so good, man. I really like it, really do love it. And then as they're like trying to make their getaway, Jod goes, okay, Neel, you fly. What? Like, he's entrusted these kids to do this shit, and it's just funny because like if it was adults, everything would have gone perfectly, right? And they all would have known what their jobs are. But he's making children do this. So like Neel's flying, and Neel's kind of, he's like just kind of, you know, evasive maneuvers, which is either smart or really stupid, right? Because Neel could have crashed the plane or the ship, but it also might be smart because the X-Wings might be targeting them, but he's taking actions that and no pilot would because he doesn't know what he's doing, you know? So his evasive actions are just his normal flying, you know, just trying to hold things together. And then John and Wim and Fern are like, what the hell? Why can't I fly? I'm the captain. And that's because Jod has bigger plans for Wim and Fern, the two leaders of the group. So he tosses Fern into a cockpit of like a shooting pit, and then does Wim into the same thing. So he's got Wim and Fern shooting. KB is typing in the coordinates. And then Jod hops back in the driver's seat, and so Neel's like his co-pilot. And they make the jump to hyperspace. And the X-Wings don't jump into hyperspace behind them. They return back to Kim, damaged, not killed by the kids, just damaged, right? I was like, oh man, are these kids, while they're shooting in the ship, gonna kill some people? Jesus. No. No kids killing today. And no kids dying today either. So the pilots return, and head pilot says to Kim, "You got any idea where they could be heading?" And Kim says, "You wouldn't believe me even if I told you." And the credits roll on episode 3. Can't wait for episode 4. Not a whole lot happened in this episode 3. Definitely not my favorite episode of the season, but certainly some interesting stuff in there with Kim and finding out more about Jude Law's character and what his deal is. I still love the group of kids, Wim, Fern, KB, Neel. Neel I think we all love, and if you don't love Neel, screw you. Jude Law's character is growing on me a bit. I do like his, he's got a gun and a sword, and he's still got this Captain Silvo jacket. I don't know, man. Who is he really? How many more names will we find out that he has? I would really laugh so hard to find out once we do. But what is the mystery of this At-Aten planet? Will they actually make it back? Is there actually treasure? Or is it just like a mountain of Old Republic gold, or credits, What is the treasure on the planet? Is it more like an ancient, Indiana Jones, find the idol type of treasure, or is it just a bunch of gold credits, is that type of treasure? I'm fascinated to know what you guys think down in the comment section below. If you'd like to follow my other social medias, links for those down in the description below. My Letterboxd, Instagram, all that type of thing. Big Cam, 2 G's in the Big, pretty much anywhere. Threads, Twitter, just got on Blue Sky, so follow me over there. Thank you guys so much for supporting me. If you would like to support the channel and you've made it this far in the video, the best way to support the channel is by liking this video, commenting below, subscribing if you're not already, and make sure you hit that bell so you don't miss future videos, alright? Thank you guys so much for coming on by. My name is Big Cam, and I will see you beautiful people in the next one. Peace!